You know, I'm still shaking the water off of me. It's been almost 45 years ago that I gave my life to Jesus Christ. As a teenager, lost, aimless, in trouble with the law, addicted to drugs. But I had found someone that loved me for who I was and not for what I could do or had done. And I so loved Jesus that I just was ready to jump off a cliff if that's what it required to follow him. But it didn't require jumping off a cliff. It required getting publicly baptized. And when I was baptized in 1975, the Lord came on me with His Spirit. I had no understanding of what happened. I came up out of the water and I was speaking in another language not known to men. The Bible talks about speaking in tongues, and I blew away all the people around me because they had no idea. They thought I was shivering because it was cold in the Gulf of Mexico that day. But you know, my mother was kind of weirded out with everything, as you could imagine. I came home, I'm speaking in tongues, and I've been baptized, and you know, why wasn't my infant baptism good enough? And so she was so concerned, she went and saw her priest. And his statement to her was, don't worry about it, Mrs. Stilson. I had similar things happen to me, but it wore off. And my mom came back and somehow it assured her that her passionate son who has given his life to follow Christ, it's going to wear off. Let me just tell you, now I've had ups and downs. I've had highs and lows. But I say I'm still wet because Jesus, what He begins in our lives, He continues it in our lives. Can you remember your beginning times with the Lord? Can you remember that moment of surrender to Christ and when you were baptized? You're still wet. Even when you feel like you've dried out, there's that replenishing of the Lord. You know, the Apostle Paul said it this way in the book of Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6. It says, He who has begun a good work in you will continue that good work until Christ returns. Let me just encourage you that what God started in me, He has continued in me. He doesn't start jobs, get halfway, and it gets difficult or hard or finds, you know, He's working with some rough material and He quits. No, God stays with it until He completes the process. What God starts in you, He'll never give up on you. He's faithful. You can trust Him. Know that God has done a work that will never wear out. It'll never dry out. Now, you can get in dry seasons, but let the Lord replenish you. Remember those times of your first love, as the scriptures talk about. So I can just stand before you after all these years and say, you know, I'm a little bored with church at times. I get bored with the Bible at times. I get bored with singing songs at times. But I'm going to tell you this, I've never gotten bored with Jesus, and He's always fresh, and He'll keep you wet in His presence if you let Him. Now let me encourage you. I'd love to have you to put the date you were baptized and just celebrate that you're still wet. We'd love to hear from you.